Konoa's Jurassic World still was standing strong. Though they lost the Stegosaurus due to the breach last month, visitor numbers were higher than ever. The video of the two fighting dinosaurs was filmed by many and put on the internet, spiking the interest of thrill seekers hoping to see another malfunction that would result in two giants fighting. The amount of dinosaurs present at the park had increased greatly, and easily was enough for people to spend an entire day of just watching the magnificent creatures. But the park had to evolve, and Konoa readied his crew up for their most ambitious project yet. They had created the biggest pen in all of the park to welcome the largest type of dinosaurs, the long-necked herbivores. Shops and stalls were instated long beforehand to create a hype amongst the people. From afar, visitors would already get a glimpse of these colossal titans. The pen would be mixed. On one hand, it would contain the Brachiosaurus, mighty and stout, but difficult to please as its living conditions were quite strict, and the Diplodocus, much more relaxed and pleasant as long as it had enough space for its huge mass. As the people waited for the long-necked newcomers to arrive, they enjoyed themselves by getting familiar with some of the many other species on the island. The park had so many different types and sizes to offer. From the Triceratops-esque three-horned dinosaurs, to the dangerous-looking carnivores on two legs, or the cute little ones socializing with each other and making funny noises to the kids, to the ones shaped weirdly, the one more fascinating than the other. Customer satisfaction and reviews had never been this high, and the shareholders expected numbers to surge even more once the new dinosaurs were presented. And then, the Diplodocus was finally left out of the incubation pen into the wild. Once again, transportation proved difficult. Due to its size, one tranq dart was not enough to put it down, but luckily for the staff on the helicopter, the size of the creature made it easy to hit. And so the biggest creatures yet were transported through the air to their new home, which hopefully would be groomed to their liking. Because of their long neck, the conservative feeding mechanism would not work, and so a special installment was made to appease to the long necks of the creatures. And luckily for the park, the two Diplodocus really liked their pen and quickly grew accustomed to it. They socialized with each other and looked curious to the tiny humans staring in awe. The Diplodocus did not need much forestry, but more would have to be planted to appease the Brachiosaurus when it would arrive. One of the things that made the Diplodocus popular was its whip-like tail that it could use in defense to snap at predators daring enough to attack such a large monster. The eating of the leaves was a popular sight as the customers could behold the herbivores in their true size with their necks high up in the air. Shortly after, the Brachiosaurus was set free as well, and its small body and huge neck imposed an incredible image. Its silhouette against the sun reminded the staff of the reveal scene in the documentary revolving around the first Jurassic Park ever built. Of course, that park ended up never being opened due to the killing of 5 staff members, but Konoa had the utmost confidence that this would never happen in his park. Though the Diplodocus really liked their new environment and enjoyed their freedom of movement, adjustments needed to be made to make the two new visitors feel welcome. Luckily, the Diplodocus were easier to adjust as well. The Brachiosaurus were a cranky bunch, but due to their long vertical necks, they needed a lot of trees surrounding them, as they were not built as horizontally as the Diplodocus. It was the Brachiosaurus' neck and head that people could already spot as they entered the park at the main entrance. And so the park was incredibly happy with their latest additions, but Konoa announced publicly that their ambitious project was not yet over. Even though They had mentioned earlier that in the largest pen they would welcome a mixed variety of long-necked herbivores. The creatures were big enough to where they could be put in the same pen with a carnivore without the threat of being attacked. It would be the park's first herbivore and carnivore mixed pen, and for this, the Baryonyx was chosen. The Baryonyx rose in popularity after the movie Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom was a box office hit despite very average reviews. Konoa only liked the part on the island. The Baryonyx usually would eat fish, and due to the imposing size of the herbivores, they would not be or feel threatened by the inclusion of a carnivore. By adding the Baryonyx that was now set free, the large pen would create its own small ecosystem, probing the interest of many visitors. Precautions were made again, since the carnivores always demanded it, and the staff in the chopper made sure to put the beast down before he would be moved. And as expected, the Baryonyx worked great with the other dinosaurs in the pen. More carnivores could not be added though, as that would incite in conflict for sure. But the customers loved the fact that amongst those giant plant eaters, a smaller, aggressive meat eater roamed as well. The Diplodocus actually did not mind the addition of more forestry for the Brachiosaurus, as they enjoyed the shade it offered them. And then it was already time for the park's next project. Ever since the opening, fans and customers had been begging for one particular species of dinosaurs, and with the park now home to multiple carnivores without big incidents involving humans, it was time to welcome the Velociraptor. Though the long-necked herbivores were so popular, the raptors would be a really prime A-star attraction. It was interesting seeing how the raptors were smaller than some of the existing carnivores, but yet they were a fan favorite ever since the files on the first Jurassic Park were released publicly. And then, the first of the 3 raptors was set loose. The utmost precaution would be necessary in its transport, as it was notorious that one of the staff members was killed by a raptor when moving it to its pen in the first Jurassic Park. But it had some of Konoa's staff worried. The fences of the raptor pen were regular fences, not even electrified. If the beast managed to attack a weak spot, they would be able to break out in no time. But Konoa believed his park was built to the dinosaurs' liking, and thus they had nothing to worry about. He wanted the crowds to properly see the dinosaurs and therefore refrain from larger fences with electricity. But the raptors were no ordinary dinosaurs. They were the smartest creatures in the park. Once the first raptor was set loose, it seemed well aware of the helicopters above her, transporting her fellow group members. Once more were dropped off, one of them immediately went in for the kill on one of the goats. You could see in their eyes that these were animals that could think, could calculate. They communicated with each other, and as the visitor stared them in the eyes, they stared right back at him. You could see she was a clever girl. Visitors staying in the hotel had a nice view of the newest raptor attraction. But of course, the park never stood still, and Konoa was excited about their next planned event. It was another large pen to welcome one large dinosaur. In fact, it was meant for the king of the dinosaurs, the majestic Tyrannosaurus Rex. Though some of the scientists believed that the T-Rex could live with the long-necked herbivores, Konoa was of the opinion that the Rex would deserve its own pen. As it stomped out in the open, even the scientists and staff could not believe their eyes. They had never seen such a large and dangerous animal before. Its roar mighty and stern. Like all others, it was tranquilized and made ready for transport. The queues to get but a glimpse of the latest edition rose up to 4 and 5 hours, as everyone wanted to be part of this historic day. The T-Rex explored its pen and found it to its liking. The Rex was one hell of a beauty, with bright yellow eyes and its strong legs shaking the ground wherever it went. Here too, staff members expressed their concerns with the tiny unelectrified fences, but Konoa told them not to worry. As long as the Rex was at ease, that had nothing to worry about. In fact, it seemed quite occupied by seeing that delicious goat and gobbling it up in one go. Some of the customers were a bit scared to see such a predator up close, but it quickly became a popular sight for everyone to visit. But then something terrible happened. During feeding hour of the raptors, staff members let out more goats for the raptors to hunt and feed on. Though this went well for the first couple of goats, one of the raptors had snuck up and rammed the stand that a staff member was standing on to be out of reach of the raptors. The staff members lost his balance and fell in the pen with the raptors. The alarm was raised as rangers rushed towards the raptor pen, and the visitors could only watch in awe. Some pulled out their phones to film. They all witnessed how the helpless man laid on the ground as the raptors closed in on him and tore him to shreds.